Hello and welcome back. This will be the final tutorial video for the series. In this episode, we're just going to go around and tidy up this model. As you can see, it looks the walls are a bit too high. I'm going to show you how to quickly go and adjust that. We're also going to put on the rad locks and the cables for it. And then we're pretty much done. Everything else can kind of be done with what's been taught throughout the series. So we're going to finish off with this episode today. Right, let's get into it. So we're going to go into this one. So this one's obviously a bit too tall. And I'm just going to edit this, not the extrude, but the section into this one. Yep. And I'm just going to make this like 300, I think it was. Yep, that looks about right. Cool. And because those other parts are actually, if I regenerate that, because those other parts are also driven off that, they all change too. So this one and the center one are exactly the same part. So if whatever I do to this part is going to happen to that part. But when because I made this part here in this assembly, it changed because it was referenced off whatever this height here was. And this is where you got to be smart about making assemblies and stuff. Like parts and assemblies. So just be smart about how you actually model things. The next is the sidewalls for this are still a bit high. So obviously like there's actually just like a small sheet that sits in here that's like 4mm thick, and the lid goes on top of that. At the moment we've got some huge gap there. So instead of having our modules flop about over every bump, I'm just going to go in here and edit that. So we want to go to in here, Accumulator. It'll be the first extrusion, I believe. I can press this one here. Bring that down to 300. Let's see where that ended up. No, sorry, that's what the other one was. So if we just go in there, I think we'll make it 400. So we go the first extrusion. Obviously, there's different ways that you can go about it. I'll do a different way. This time I'll go into this one. Oops. That's definitely not the one I want. But vertically, if I make that 400, I think that's roughly about right. It looks a little bit short, but I'm just showing you guys how to do it. You can go and nitpick that later. So now we actually have a container that looks like a container. So now we're going to quickly save that. Not regenerated, so obviously when you change parameters around, that's going to be a thing. So always want to regenerate your model. And that's one of the things that you just saw before when I changed this. The other ones weren't regenerated, so they were still the old size. So you just have to press this regenerate button at the top here. Now I'm going to go ahead and assemble some rad locks. So I'm actually going to use the ones that we used on the actual car. So in motors and drivetrain, accumulator container, and I believe we ended up using the 8mm one, so I'm going to open that. And then I'm going to go my trusty rules of selecting that bottom face first. And then I'm going to go, and I'm actually going to just reference the top of that surface there, and it's going to be a distance because they actually sit, they don't sit all the way down, they sit offset. I'm just going to make that 6mm. Cool, that's our first constraint done. Our second constraint will be the inside, so I'm just cycling through the surfaces by using the right click, and for some reason something's not happening, so I'm just going to scroll, move the camera around so I can see it. I've just selected that inside face in this one. Coincident, awesome. Now it says it's locked in, so this is like one of those things I've been talking about before, where because it's cylindrical, it goes okay, kind of lock me in left to right, and whatever in the XY plane, and it thinks it's locked in, but you can still, I could still grab this and spin it around. But we also want to just lock that in place too. So I'm just going to turn planes on here. and there's a plane through the middle here that I want to constrain. So I'm going to go new constraint. So you'll have to, the only time you have to do that, come into here to make the last constraint, is when it goes yellow and it thinks it's happy, but it's actually not happy. And I'm just going to select this plane here through the middle, and I'm actually going to constrain it to the wall. And I'm always going to select the same internal wall here. So it's going to be this one. And instead of normal, I want that to be an angle offset. So at the moment it's saying that's 90. So if I go to 180, it goes that way. I could flip it. Your first one, whatever you're doing with this one, is going to kind of standardize what you do with the rest. So this is the time to be picky about numbers you pick and whether or not it's flipped or not. But yeah, so I'm just going to go okay. So if I just turn planes off there, it's looking all good. Nothing's poking through there. Right, so another thing to note is these modules are actually not an accurate representation of how they're set up in real life. So normally they have, there's two types. So there's one where the stud's on this side and it goes crossways like this. For this demonstration, I've just got them all going the same way, which should be fine. But anyway, we're going to keep going. We're going to just put one more on here now. Think I want to do, yeah, I'll do these two. So I'm going to go here. So my constraint was the bottom, axes, and the wall. Oh, look at that, it's even facing the right way. Perfect. Cool. Now let's assume that you've gone and put all these on for each one of them, and you've kind of, obviously you want to have a diagram like sketched down somewhere, showing you where you're going to have all your cabling going. So this is going to be a way to model the cables. It's not the very best way you can model the cables. There are better ways to do this, but this is how we did it in 2019. This is probably going to be the same way you do it in 2020 and a few years ahead until you guys start using schematics. But that's a completely different topic. We're going to keep going away with how we do it this way. So sometimes what does happen though is because, see, these are straight. When I mean straight, I mean like they're directly in front of each other. So I could possibly just do an extrusion, right, that goes from here to there, and it would represent the cable. I'm going to throw a few kinks in here to show you how to kind of get some funky geometry that you kind of end up with in the actual container. One thing to note is on these parts here, so I'm just going to open it. One really important thing that I've added is this point here. So you absolutely have to have that. That's a datum point, by the way. There really should be two. So there should be one here and maybe one at the end here. I'm going to actually just add that now real quick. So sketch. Let's just go reference, the center, solve, close, point. Okay, and there's my second datum point there. I'll get to that in a second while I've done that. So I'm just going to save that, and I'm going to close it. So now I've got 2 points here. Now we're going to add a datum curve. So we go to datum up here, this is where all your datum stuff are. Datum, drop down, go to curve, curve through points. I haven't really used the other two too often, but yeah, curve through points or just click curve. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go first point, second point, third and fourth point. And with this, right, so say I want to have a curve in here. This up here determines if it's going to be perpendicular from, so for instance, the starting point to here, or if it's going to be curved. So this one here is a curved one, and this is perpendicular. So for your first part, so from here to here, you'll want that to be perpendicular. Where from here to the next point, you'll want it to be a curve. and this will kind of affect the actual, you know, the radiuses and stuff that you create when you're modeling certain stuff. So to go ahead and change that, you go back to like 0.2 and you can just go, I want that to be straight there. So 0.3 is still this one, 0.4 is, so that's this point here, and I want that to be straight as well. Cool. Now I'm going to go into this. I literally just tried this about a minute ago and it worked perfectly. But classic Creo, you got one box unticked or you do something wrong and you know things don't work properly. So if I go to this, also might be a factor of this line being straight. So if I'm gonna just go ahead and pretend that's exactly how I want the line, which it kind of is anyway. To add the actual thing, the cable, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do create, and it's going to be called, I'm just going to call it cable. Normally you'd call it like HV cable because that's what it is. But I don't want to, as I said before, if you've got same names in different folders, then like Creo doesn't like it because like you've got two things with the same name sitting in this search directory. I'm going to break. So I'm going to call it that, and then what it's saying is here's my plane and axis. I've got planes turned off, but I'm just going to drop that there and go to default. Okay, and now I'm going to activate the cable, and I'm going to do a swept. No, not a swept plane. I'm going to do a sweep. Is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the sweep on this line here. References. So X is the start. So I'm going to say, okay, I want us to start on this surface here. So I think what's happening here is something I was kind of mentioning before. If you've got a straight line, for some reason I don't understand why, it doesn't like doing a sweep on it. So for something that's as simple as this, I would actually just go extrude U here, and just go circle, you know, whatever your diameter is. It's locked on something, but yeah, I'd do that, and then I'd bring it to that point there. So I'd go to surface, and I'd bring it to there. That's how I draw my cable for that. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly swing these around so it's not straight into each other. So I'm going to cancel that. I'm just going to delete that line. We're going to get out of this curve. Sorry, the cable. We're going to activate the main assembly. We're just going to delete that curve. Delete you. And then we're going to go ahead and rotate these bad boys. So to do that, go to edit, placement, angle offset. Well, we went 275 or something. What's going on here? 27, negative 27. We want a bit less, so we want 240. Yep, cool. And we're going to do the same over here. No, wrong button. Edit, placement, angle offset. 180, we're going to go up to 200. 200, please. Yep, cool. And now we're going to go ahead and do that datum curve again. So datum curve, 1, 2, 2. Yep, there we go. 3 and 4. Yeah, so this is a much better example to show the understanding of this second point here. So if I go back to placement here, so point 1, if I go to point 2 and make this straight, see it, because the cable can't turn while it's being crimped onto this thing, right? That's how it has to go. It can't come in like that, because it can't bend on that certain point. So I'm going to make that straight, and I'm going to do the same for over here. I'm going to make that part straight as well. And then just slightly adjust that. Now, I'm hoping this tweak curve option is going to play nicely. I'm going to just close that and try again. Datum, curve. 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and do this part where I've straightened that up. Okay. And then on the active cable, I hope this is going to work because it's, yep. I'm going to go ahead and do a sweep on there. And I want my reference to be this surface sketch. There we go. And then I'm just going to go circle. And so for this, it's a really bad view every time. Don't ask me why, it's just Creo's default. But you can see here, there's a center line down here and this down here. And this is where your point is. And you just want to put a circle for what we're doing, just there. And then you want to just change that to the diameter. So let's say you've got like 35, I can't remember what it actually is. And then I can just chuck that on. Geez, that's a thick one. Let's bring that back down to like 25. Even that's thick. Maybe it was 19. Looks a bit better. And then I can put in a cable like that. Now, sometimes you want to be able to go in here and actually edit, because while that's good for getting these curves, right, if this is kind of in the road or it needs to just bump up a little bit, what you need to do is be able to like make some small tweaks. And you can do that with this tool I was trying to show you. And I'm going to have a quick look and get back to you once I figure out how to do it. Alright, so I figured it out, kind of. So if I go to datum curve, and you know how we added this extra point here? Well, if I just do the first point and the last point, I can go into options, tweak curve. And if I go to tweak curve settings, there's I can now grab points and drag them around. And I think you can add a bunch of things and other stuff here. I'm going to be completely honest with you and say I have not used this modeling. It was shown to me after I did a lot of the cabling stuff. But the person who took over EV2 work and stuff found this one, and he said this was extremely useful, and I could imagine it would be, especially for like moving over things and whatnot. So this is where that tool exists. This is a thing. So I'm just letting you know how that it exists. I don't know the depths of how certain things work, but that is there. So do know that you can go ahead and model things like this here. So I modeled that just using, go back here, just like a simple curve with points. Now the way I did it was a little bit, like it wasn't really ideal at all. So for instance, this one here, which was probably the hardest one to make, I believe I did a sketch on this plane here, like where all these points are going through. There was a plane put there, and I sketched where I want it. So I roughly went, okay, I want a point here, I want a point there, and a point there. And then I said over here, on this thing here, I said, okay, I want 2 points on that, just like I was trying to talk to you about before. That needs to be straight at the beginning. and then I kind of just let this curve come into play by itself. Obviously, you can go ahead and get crazy and add more planes to put better points in, but do note that there is this other way to make curves and stuff. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and quickly put that back in there. So we're going to go 1, 2, and then we'll use this other option here. So twig curve. I think we can believe there's a quick way to add more points and stuff. Region, like obviously there's a lot of tools in here. Feel free to go and play with yourself to figure out how to do it, and make your own tutorial video about it. How about that? And anyway, let's say we just drag this over here, drag this part over there, and we roughly get what we want. We say we're happy, okay, and obviously it will smooth it out a bit. Press OK, then we activate our cable, activate swept blend on this thing. Did I press the, oh, it's not a swept blend, sorry. It's just a sweep on there. And then I just press the sketch button, and you can't see anything, but that's okay because you've got 2 lines to guide you. And what did I say this was, like 16 or something, 19, I think it's actually 16. And that's done. Awesome. Now obviously there's stuff like the coloring. See, one thing about this way of doing it, see how it doesn't come vertical first? Just a few tweaks you could go ahead and do. Obviously you could make this two different lines, right? You could make the first datum line just go from here to here, and then this one come in from there. But a few things you need to look into if you're doing this sort of thing. But the last step is to just color it, and the best way to do that is to open this part in its own file, and then just select it, view, appearance, and you want to look for the brightest orange on the planet. So we're going to go to plastics or paint, maybe paint, spray paint, oops, and there's no orange there. We're going to go to plastics, also no orange there. There is an orange there. If not, you can just go ahead and select your own color from the color wheel. So hang on, I'll do that a bit slower. So I just went to appearance, more appearances, selected this color here. I can go ahead and select your own color. I wouldn't recommend doing this a lot, only if you have to. There's generally enough colors sitting around in there somewhere, you just need to find them. But worst case, this thing exists. And yeah, find a nice vibrant orange somewhere that will match your HV cabling. That can do for now. And just select that, appearance, done, save, okay, close, oops, that's the wrong model, and now our thing is orange. So that's it for the video tutorials. I thank you very much for enduring through all of it. I know some of it was very dry, but I think it's covering most of the Creo tools and how to use them and how to go about doing certain things. Yeah, thanks for watching, and yeah, see ya.